going to call Metabolic Monday. So from now until the end of the year, I'm going to see how these lives go. And every Monday I'm going to do a Facebook Live around this time on something related to metabolism. So that could be anything. So if you've got any topic ideas, then shoot me a comment or a direct message. I just wanted to add a disclaimer before we go any further, and that is that if you have any big concerns around your food or your body image, or you're feeling really confused about diet at the moment, then I don't actually recommend you tune into these kinds of information sessions unless you do find them helpful, because my intention's not to add to any confusion. It's just to share some knowledge and some of the things that I apply in my practice to help, but definitely not to make you more confused. So if you're really, really stressed out about food at the moment, please book a consultation. So today what I wanted to cover was meal frequency. Also, Karma's supposed to be joining me for this video, but he's having a bit of a rest because he's had a big walk this morning. So I get a lot of people coming in and they're very confused about how many times they should be eating in a day. So that's what I wanted to tackle right now. So I just wanted to explain that basically my philosophy for the most part is that I think most of us would do pretty well eating just 3 meals in a day. I know there's a big philosophy, especially in the gym environment and with a lot of these big 12 and 8 week challenges where people are eating 5 to 6 meals per day to support their metabolism. For the most part, I prefer to follow a 3 meal a day structure, and I'll give you some reasons why I think that works really well. Firstly, ancestrally, to me, it makes sense. I don't think traditionally we were ever in a place where we could eat constantly, basically every couple of hours throughout the day. And when I read something or I'm researching or I'm considering some kind of diet or whatever, I always go back to, does this actually fit in with where we came from? Because if it does, it makes sense. I think we should be trying to eat as we were supposed to eat and as we've survived to eat for a very long time. I also think that we need to remember that most of us aren't physically active for a great part of the day. So sure, I'll talk about athletes in a moment, but if you've got a desk job and you're, mostly sitting at a computer, maybe you're doing a little bit of exercise in the morning, we probably don't need to eat every 2 or 3 hours. It's just unnecessary. We need to give the body a little bit of a break and a little bit of time to digest and reset. That's something that I wanted to talk about next. The process of eating, it's actually a really involved process for the body. So every time we smell food or we anticipate that we're about to eat, the brain has to switch on and send all these messages down to the gut, and our hormones have to be activated, and lots of processes have to occur. Then we have to secrete gastric acid in the stomach. Our pancreas has to work to produce digestive enzymes. We have to churn it all up in our tummy, digest it all through the small intestines, and then basically send it all out through the colon, switch on the liver, all that sort of stuff. So if we're asking the body to do that every couple of hours throughout the day, it can be, it's quite a lot of work, and there's a lot of things happening. So the way I explain it to my clients is, it's really good to give the body a little bit of a rest. We don't need to be working it. We don't need to be working it all the time. This is actually one of the reasons why I think metabolic balance works really well for clients who have a lot of inflammation going on, because in metabolic balance, you only eat 3 times a day and there's a very clear 5-hour break between meals. So the body actually relaxes, the hormones relax, the whole body gets a little bit of a break, and we get this kind of anti-inflammatory effect. So that's pretty cool. Also, I think from a time and convenience perspective, I don't know about you, but I don't have time, or to be honest, the drive to, you know, fix myself 3 good nutritious meals every day plus snacks. In my experience, if people just ditch the snacks, a lot of them do better overall. They don't even need to think about changing the main part of their diet. If you get rid of the snacks, they're usually the most or the least nutritious part of the diet, and they are the times when we're eating stuff that we just shouldn't be eating. You know, we're eating crackers. Probably shouldn't have been doing this during garbage truck time. Sugary cakes, sweets, muesli bars with hidden sugars, just stuff that we generally don't need. Okay, so from a time and convenience perspective, I think it makes sense just focus on preparing yourself 3 good quality meals per day. And they do need to be nourishing meals. If you're preparing yourself stuff that hasn't got any protein in and it's full of rubbish, obviously you're going to be hungry again a couple of hours later, and that's when you're probably going to need snacks. Okay, so focus on making them complete meals, protein, a little bit of slow release carbohydrate and some healthy fats, and ditch the sugary snacks in between food. The final point that I wanted to make is that when in the body, fat burning is a process called lipolysis, and that basically means that the body breaks down stored triglycerides and releases it into the blood. And obviously we all want a certain amount of fat burning to happen throughout the day. Even not necessarily just people who are overweight. We want to be metabolically flexible, so switching from fat and sugar burning quite easily. It is physically impossible from a biochemistry perspective to have any fat burning occurring if you have high blood sugar levels and high insulin levels. And if there's no break in between meals and there's just basically constant grazing and constant snacking every couple of hours throughout the day, your blood sugar levels are going to stay fairly elevated and your insulin levels are probably going to stay fairly elevated as well. So you're just not going to get the benefits that come with that switching into a fat burning state. And you're certainly not going to be losing any excess fat if that's part of your goals. I did want to make a couple of notes about some exceptions. So definitely people who are really, really athletic, doing a lot of training, probably benefit from adding an extra meal. Maybe they add a really nourishing, or maybe they have a second breakfast or something like that. So immediately after training, they might have a liquid breakfast or something to fuel the body, and then they might have a proper breakfast 1 or 2 hours later when they're at work and they've showered and that kind of thing. So athletes definitely probably need an extra meal in there. Also, I do find that people who are quite exhausted, I'm talking more from like a chronic fatigue perspective, their bodies sometimes just can't cope with the process of breaking down a large meal, and plus their metabolism or their body is so exhausted that it's actually harder for them to go into a fat burning state. So in that situation, I definitely recommend, look, let's just set it up so you are eating much smaller meals, but keep them nice and nutritious. I just wanted to add something because I thought this was really interesting while we're on the topic of metabolism in humans. When I've been doing my research for Karma and what we're feeding him, one of the interesting things about dogs is that they actually benefit from quite even less food frequency than us, more around sort of once a day. And what happens is we need to, and again, I'm not a canine nutritionist, I thought this was interesting, we need to focus on making sure that's a nice big meal because their digestive processes kick in a lot better when their stomach is actually stretched a little bit, and that encourages more digestive enzymes to be secreted. So just a little bit on dog metabolism there for you guys that are interested. All right, so I hope that gave you a little bit of valuable information about my approach around you know, food frequency and that sort of thing. If you've got any comments or, you know, you thought this was interesting, please share it. Feel free to send me a direct message if you've got any ideas for next week's Facebook Live for Metabolic Monday. And enjoy the public holiday today, guys. Thanks for tuning in.